Case of the week. What would cause a little 10-month-old to be irritable, be very poor at napping, waking up in the middle of the night, constipated, and just a crabby little guy all the time? What would cause all of that in a little kiddo? We'll say his name is Timothy. We'll say he's 10 months old. Changing all of this to protect the kid's identity, but this was a infant under 1 year of age. What would cause this entire constellation in a little baby? Now, you may be thinking like, well, gosh, maybe he's eating some food and that food is not digesting well, and that's what's causing the constipation. And because he's constipated, he's irritable. And because he's irritable, he's not sleeping, right? That's what I initially thought. Wasn't the case. Then you can say, well, maybe, it's a tongue tie, or maybe it has something to do with his body. And if he just got some adjustments, that would make him better. That wasn't the case. In the case of this little guy, one of the things that mom was telling me was that his irritability would sometimes change during the course of the day. So he would wake up kind of irritable in the mornings and then be okay. And then by the late afternoon was again a hot mess. And he just was never really winding down to go to sleep, tired but wired. And ultimately he was just all the time. And it was that pattern of change over time that had me say like, God, maybe this is his adrenal glands. I've never seen this in a kiddo this age. But human beings are human beings, right? So if an adult can be tired but wired, have a hard time winding down to go to sleep, and just be irritable because their adrenal glands are off, I mean, it's possible. And I honestly never seen this in an infant this young, nor had I ever thought to look for it. So I told the mom, I'm like, you know what? There's no harm in trying these plants. Here's a mixture of plants. Give it a go. See what happens. I check in with the mom a week later. I'm like, how's he doing? Terrific. I'm like, what? Literally, I was like, what? She's like, yeah, he's napping better. He's sleeping better. We can actually put him down. He still wakes up like once or twice a night, but oh my God, that's so much better than before. And his constipation is gone. I'm like, what? Literally, that was my reaction. I'm like, what? Like, how the heck? I can get, napping, his system is regulating better because his adrenal glands are better, like kids can wind down. Like that part of it, I can comprehend. But I was like, really? She's like, yeah. He's now pooping at least like once a day. And he's not, it's not a struggle. I'm like, oh. What controls the gastrointestinal tract, the mobility of the gastrointestinal tract? One of the primary things is actually the innervation, right? The vagus nerve and the sympathetic response. The sympathetic response does a very strange things to the gastrointestinal tract. And some people get diarrhea. But what it can also do is actually slow down gastric motility. Because, think about it. If 1,000 years ago a lion was chasing you down, you probably wouldn't want to poop yourself, right? If a lion is about to come to eat you, the last thing you want to do is be thinking about having a bowel movement, right? So the body is brilliantly wired in a way that is ultimately, to protect us. Except it turns out that if your adrenal glands are really out of balance, that causes this tired but wired. Wired being your sympathetic nervous system is just zzz all the time. Why? Because the body actually uses the sympathetic nervous system to push adrenal gland function. It boosts adrenal gland function. So in this kid, what we did is we used plants, we boosted adrenal gland function. The body said like, okay, I guess I don't need to work so hard anymore. I can just relax. It's like you're pushing the throttle down all the way to get to 75 miles an hour. You tune up the engine and now it's like, oh, I just need to push the accelerator a quarter of the way. And now I'm doing 80. Oh, I guess I better back off even a little bit. Less sympathetic tone, less drive to the adrenal glands because the adrenal glands are doing their job even better. And that brings down the sympathetic tone, which actually allows a restoration of sympathetic, parasympathetic flow, which actually then can change gastrointestinal functioning. And that was the case that we saw in this little guy. And, I love having these kiddos that I work with because they are my teachers. When I see these cases, I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that. Okay, next time I will think about that. And these conversations are really about us looking at other possibilities. Not to say that this is the case in every kid. It's not to say that every baby who's constipated has an adrenal gland issue. It's not to say that every kid who's a poor napper has an adrenal problem. There's a lot of different reasons why it could be happening. But we don't talk about how adrenal gland function in some kiddos can actually be the main reason why they have a hard time napping, worse sleepers at night, may have digestive issues, may just be crabby all the time, may be colicky. Except it's not colic. It's actually a body's attempt to compensate for imbalances that it doesn't know how to fix otherwise. And in these cases, if we use plants like ribes nigrum, then you can actually restore these things. And you can rebalance, and you can bring health, and you can bring vitality, and suddenly change the picture of what you see in the child in a rather remarkable way. I hope this information helps, and I'm so thankful that you're a part of this community and we're getting this kind of information out there because this is so necessary. And, I hope we can all tap into this information and for you guys to find practitioners that you love working with, because I'm not here to, play doctor. I'm here to share information. And if you take this information and find a practitioner that you're good with, and then you guys as a team could start doing these treatments and testing these things out. And if you've got a child who's irritable, you can talk about, is this tongue tie? Is this a feeding issue? Is this? Is it that? And that's how we make a difference. That is how we bring so much great health into the kids. And we work with pediatricians, holistic doctors, naturopathic doctors, whatever the case is. And it is all just about us opening our eyes and saying, gosh, that's a possibility. And that's all we need to start. We're just saying, these are possibilities. These are things for us to think about. And when we do that, really incredible things happen. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of our community. This is Dr. K. Be well.